Okay, let's talk about foot and calf, the care of the foot and calf. And there's quite a few different tools, some of them you're probably familiar with, that you can use to take care of the foot especially, and the calf as well. But the foot is so much a part of the calf, and the calf is just really in response to what's going on in the foot. And also, the rest of our body is in response to what's going on in our foot. Our foot is the main contact with the floor or the surface we're on. So if there's any extra tension that's in the foot, or which could lead to misalignment, either one is going to affect the way that we stand over the top of our feet. So if the tighter the feet are, the more likely they're going to be in some compensated position, and then your body has to realign itself over the top of that foot rather than a balanced out foot. And that tension, any tension present there, is going to radiate. It's going to cause extra tension throughout the rest of your body. And so the foot is really one of the highest impact areas to create systemic effect throughout your body. So if you're limited on time, this is one of the areas that you want to prioritize. And so with that, there's a lot of different tools that we can use. Some of them you're probably familiar with. There is a dowel rod. These come, you don't have to buy a fancier one like this. You can literally go to Home Depot or whatever and just cut a short piece of dowel rod, like the wood rod you use in your closet to hang your clothes on. But these are pretty cheap, $6 or $9, and you can order them online or whatever, but they come in all types of shapes. I just go with a real simple one, and I find this to be my favorite tool. And then along second to that is the lacrosse ball. And the lacrosse ball is just probably, in my opinion, the best ball you can use. You can definitely use different balls, but some don't have the same density, or they're bigger or smaller, and the size is perfect, the density is perfect, and it's grippy too, so it really helps keep it underneath your foot. So for today, for the bottom of the feet, I'll show you how to use these two, and then I'm going to show you how to work the calf, which you could use a foam roller to do what I'm going to show you for the calf, but I tend to lean towards using a handheld stick because it's just easier to control. I can really fine tune the pressure a lot better. It's a more accurate tool for me. I get a better response. So to start, what you do is just step on it. And so there's the ball of your foot, that pad there, right behind your toes, and then that pad is the ball of the foot that then the arch comes off of. So I'm going to place the center of this dowel rod right behind the pad of that ball of my foot, right where the pad and the arch of the foot meet. And then I'll stand up. I'll talk to you from up here. But I'm just going to shift my weight onto it and see how much weight I can handle. Again, it should be uncomfortable, but not painful. So definitely make sure to just adjust the right amount of weight to where it's making an effect. It's uncomfortable, but you're not wincing, you're not tensing up your body, you're able to breathe, there's no pain. So I'm just going to camp out right on this spot and just let the pressure of the dowel rod, let my tissue respond to that. And I'll feel it start to just relax a little bit against that pressure, won't be as resistant to it. And I'll start noticing the level of tension decreasing just a little bit on the bottom of my foot. And that's good enough. So it will take longer in the beginning if you haven't done this before. But the more frequently you do this, the quicker your tissue is going to respond. And that's true with all the things I show you here. So for me, I've already got a good response out of the foot. It's relaxed a bit. So what I'm going to do with my dowel rod is I'm going to start just rolling, offload a little bit of my weight so I can roll. See, that was a little too much weight. It got a little painful there. So I'm going to roll through the bottom of the arch, right through the middle of the arch. And I'm looking for those tender points because those are the areas we're actually trying to search out and eliminate over time. So I don't want to avoid them. I actually want to spend most of my time on them. So for me, there's a tender point right about here. So I'm going to stop and just let my heel go back on the floor, relax, take a couple breaths. I can even open my toes, close my toes, or I can rock my foot back and forth. Those are different techniques you can use when you do this pinning way of pinning that tender point. And I'll do that for about 5 or 10 seconds, then I'll move on. And I'm gonna concentrate at least the first minute on the arch of my foot, the main arch here. So I'll spend at least 20, maybe 30 seconds right down the center, moving slow, keeping the pressure going from the heel, just as I get to the heel, all the way back to just when I get to the ball of the foot, back and forth. And then I'll lean off to the side so I can get the inside edge of the arch of my foot. And again, I find a tender point right there. I'm gonna stop on it, put my heel back on the ground, see how much weight I can handle, not too much. And then I'm just gonna kind of scrub my foot back and forth. I find that that works really well. About 10 seconds, I can notice a little difference. Even if you don't notice a little difference yet, it might just take some more consistency of doing it, but give it about 10 seconds and move on. And I'll work that, and then I'll go to the outside edge, and I'll do the same thing. And I'm just gonna speed up this process, so you'll be moving slower. So you can take like 20, 30 seconds down the center of the arch, 20, 30 seconds on the inside, 20, 30 seconds on the outside. Then I can go up into the ball of the foot, right in the center, and I'm just rolling from where the toes meet the ball of the foot to where the ball of the foot meets the arch. I'm just kind of rolling back there, looking for crunchy spots, spending a little extra time on those tender and or crunchy areas. I find mine's a little more on the outside, so I tend to spend most of my time out there. I can stop on it again. I can do an opening and closing of the toes. I can do a side to side. And so I'll spend another 20 or 30 seconds around in the ball of the foot and such, and then I'll get to where I go to the heel now and do the same thing. Start in the center of the heel, to the arch, to the back of the heel. This guy slips out a little bit. And then I'll do the inside, and then I'll do the outside. So what you want to do is just spend about 3 minutes a day on each foot, one time a day. And if you only had one thing you can do for your flexibility, only had time for one thing, this is by far the best one to go to, has the biggest impact. So the same kind of process I can use the lacrosse ball for. I'll just place it on the ground, same starting point where the ball of the foot and the arch meet, and then I can stand up on that, and I can just apply pressure. The ball is pushing up into my foot, spreading the bones apart, relaxing the tissue. I give it that first initial time to settle in, see when it responds by relaxing a little bit. And then from there, I can move through the foot the same way I did with the dowel rod, except now I have the ball. There is one method I can show you with the ball that I really like, because with the ball you can do a fanning motion. So after my first initial position, I can fan my way down the arch toward my heel. Heel's on the ground, and I'm just side to side, cross fiber friction on the tissue underneath, or on that main arch of the foot, and I just work my way down on the heel. So that's just a technique that's really easy to do with this ball. But otherwise, you do the same thing with the ball. Again, we use a 3 minute, at least 3 minutes best. You can do 2 minutes, but as time goes on, you'll find you probably won't have to do as much time. That's when you can start decreasing the time. But do start off with 3 minutes each foot, one time a day. And then for the calf, and ideally you can do them in this order. The foot, then go to the calf, and afterwards you can even do a calf stretch. Once you've got all this tissue released, you're going to get a much greater degree of stretch in your calf afterwards. So, but you don't have to do them all together, but if you do and you can do one after another, do them in that order. Foot, roll the calf, and then stretch the calf. So to use the stick, I prefer this. You can use a foam roller too, and you can get over the top of the foam roller and on the shin this way. I just find that this is just a lot more controlled environment. I can really fine tune the pressure a lot better. I can get better releases because I can do a little better techniques with my hands. So I prefer the stick. I'll show you with the stick. So with the calf, I want to start at the bottom and push my way up. It's just, you're pushing blood around, so it's better not to just drive a whole bunch of blood down into your foot where it has nowhere to go. And you can stress out blood vessels that way, so push it back up towards your heart. So I'll start down by where the fold of the ankle complex here, and you'll feel the shin bone right off to the side of the shin bone. You'll feel this muscle, and that's the anterior tibialis. That's what we're going after. I'm just going to slowly steamroll with the right amount of pressure, Pretty uncomfortable, but not painful. There I find a tender spot. I'm going to stop on the tender spot, and I can move side to side this way. I can rock the stick. I can go up and down. And what's nice about this particular one, a tiger tail, is that this grippy material pulls the skin with it. So it helps to get some of those more superficial layers of the fascia release as well. I'll do about 10-15 seconds there, and then I'll move up the line again, stopping along the way at any of those tender points I find. And then I'll reset. Once I get up here, there's this bone, so I'm going to come back down here and I'll work my way back up it, nice and slow. And I'm still going a little fast for the sake of this video. And I'll do that for up to a minute. And then I can work on the outside here, but these are more tender, so don't put much pressure there at all. But these peroneals need a little bit of that too. So I'm just going to kind of much lighter pressure, and I'll do just not as intense all the way around on these, but give them a few swipes up to help them release a little bit. And then for the back side of the calf, I'll start down where the heel, the top of the heel where the Achilles starts, and I'll apply that pressure forward into it, and just nice and slow right up the middle. And I'm finding a tender point right about there, and I can do the same type of motions. I'll stop, side to sides. I can do a rocking this way, which is nice. Or I can go up and down, and just experiment with those different ways of doing it, and you'll probably find that one might work better for you than the other, so just experiment. And then I'll work my way back up. Just before I get to the very back side of the knee, that tender area that you don't want to roll right behind your knee. Stop there, reset, and with this back side of the calf, I can work inside, middle, and outside in the same way. And up to a minute or maybe even longer. It just depends on what your program calls for and where you're at in your progressions. But again, this is one of the highest impact areas of the body, so if you're limited on time, this is the best place to prioritize.